Hey class, welcome. This is Adrian. I'm dialing you in to what we got here is a specimen. This is what we would like to call a spur, but instead of calling it a spur, a lot of people refer to it as a cedar or a spruce. So what makes it these things? Well, it's very similar to what we see, a spruce, right? I got a spruce right there. For you to be able to visually see. I know it's kind of in the distance, but it's also a very tall tree. So hence, this actually comes from a totally different family because of the way it is designed in orientation. As you can see, very much similar to a maple or sugar maple more specifically. You can see the coccillated, pileated woodpeckers like to bore into this for sap. So since they bore into it for sap, what does that tell us? It has sap, it provides sugars, by creating a secondary tree, you actually create a great platform for being able to generate really solid wood. As you can see, the bark's really easy to remove. I can literally just pick it up, pull it. When you see that, you know, that lets me know, the person that's working with the wood, it's pretty soft wood. You know, so I can, as a woodworker, go through it, and I might be able to work it all with hand tools. I might not even need a machine. Especially when I can do it like that. So, you know, when it comes to cutting, moreover, when we go to look at this tree, the beauty of this tree, you can notice it splits into 3 trunks from this base that was once girdled by all those woodpeckers. All right, so the tree adapts to what it knows it can produce. In addition to that, we can see that it has a great amount of strobile limbing. Okay, so the strobile limbing shows us, okay, it generates a lot of wood. What's the value of that wood? You know, I would definitely appropriate looking at, you know, it's very few knots in terms of like what it's dropping for limbs. So that's why it's so important to cut the tree actually at a certain height and then curl it over. It's a very unique specimen. As you can see, like this one drooping down, trying to find a way to route itself into the ground. It actually would probably create a second root colony if I did it just right. Very similar to Carolina in terms of how we would pull off the bark so it strips itself, which helps it probably remove things like this, anything that's non-symbiotic, so lichen that may not be symbiotic to its living conditions. Ergo, I would have to do obviously way further studies to figure that out, but it's fun. That's why we do it. It's biology, and we love it. Hey you guys, my name is Adrian. I've been doing the Inaturalists project for quite some time now. It's been a lot of fun. The various ways that I've actually gone about collecting include going out to the greater Western North Carolina area around me, such as Ellensboro, Mars Hill, and even, you know, a couple campgrounds here and there. This has allowed me to see various things like scat, track. While not all of that is like things I used and included in my observations, things like the ruby-throated hummingbird, for example, was included in that. And it was because we accidentally captured it. We weren't trying to capture that. We were actually seeking like the Tennessee warbler and the Swanson warblers and the, you know, things of that nature. And so, because we did get to observe it, it was really a fun sight to see. In addition to that, when I did the deer check station with the Wildlife Chapter Society as well, I found the piebald, which is not a common phenomenon that you see. I mean, we all see deer on the side of the road, but I never have seen a piebald, so it was very unique. It was fun to see just like the different continuities in its gene structure from an observation standpoint of like outside looking in, like wow, you know, totally opposite color, almost a chestnut. Like the first thing I thought was like, you know, if I had done that, I would want it as a rug. I wouldn't really think about eating it, but I did learn how to like extract lymph nodes. And so you, through this experience, you could also learn how to track chronic wasting disease and how to get more information to include in your studies and where to seek that information from. So not only was it a great networking experience, a great physical experience, it was also just a blast. You know, we got to interact with other students from other colleges. And so I, as a member of the chapter, really enjoyed it. And I feel like that's what really added to the value of this overall lab experience. So, when I show you something like the Japanese spruce that I have, or the Sugi, the reason why I show that is because it's actually at that life stage where I can question lowering its height and actually doing like the morphology that usually comes with that type of tree. It's fascinating. I mean, that's the best way to harvest like a plant of that style, or a tree, a woody plant of that style. And it still provides wildlife the whole time. It actually makes some of its fruit more accessible for certain animals. So it just depends on design and structure. In addition to that, it's also like the idea that I see why it's smart to maybe look at different ways of investing into methods or methodologies of research, so that if I can provide greater access points, just like these guys provided for my volunteer experience, then who knows what can be discovered. So, and it's accurate to say because, for example, where I live, even though I live in the Pisgah National Forest and it's very easy to collect our data that we would need for this project, I found on the other side, we had 520 acres burned 2 miles up the road. So it's kind of one of those things where now I have the skills to study this stuff and to understand what is happening in my environment, and looking for the right signs so I can see certain key elements that then lead me to a conclusion. And so that's why I appreciate this kind of like lab style and this approach, because we are able to see other people's environments within this community. Not everybody lives in Waynesville. Not everybody lives in Clyde. Not everybody lives in Canton. I'm in Marion. So I'm in the National Forest, like on this side. I live in a Cove Hardwood area, as some would say in the country, a holler. So it's kind of fun, I know how to, before I even came to this course, I was learning how to do things very similar through landscaping and design. I already knew those things, but it's just like applying them, So then you get to see it now with a more scientific viewpoint. And from that aspect, now I can say, oh, no, I know this will happen. Or I know I will have a higher rate of success this way. And that's beauty. That's like beauty in knowing what you can do to actually encourage the reduction of global warming and giving back to your ecosystem, and just not being someone that just takes from land. And so I can give back, and I hope that other people hear this and maybe feel the same way. Have a great day.